guys, welcome back to my channel. So today is going to be my April wrap up. I read 11 books in the month of April. One was a DNF, so technically I read 10 books. And a couple are some like new releases that I had arcs of. And I also read some backlisted books. Most of these are thrillers this month. I did read like 3 horror books, and then I had 2 that were more contemporary. As usual, I'm going to be starting in order from books I liked the least to the most. So I'm going to be starting with my DNF. So like I said, I had 1 DNF, 1 1-star book, 4 3-star books, 3 to 3.5. I had 4 4-star books and 1 5-star. I had a little bit of a better reading month this time compared to my other previous months, so I feel like I'm getting better as the months go on. So my first book that was a DNF was Night Film by Marisha Pessl. I did an entire vlog on 3 of these thrillers in a like hyped thriller vlog, so I'm gonna leave that linked. I won't get into too much detail because if you want to hear my full thoughts, go check out that vlog. But this book I just really could not get into. It's a very much detective style mystery. It has some like creepy horror paranormal elements in from what I hear, but I just really could not get into the story. I got about 235 pages in and it just was not capturing my attention. I thought it was boring and I just couldn't get into it, so I DNF'd it. My 1.5-star book was Bunny by Mona Awad. I actually sold this on Pango like immediately after reading this because I hated this book so much. I read this for Spring Fling-a-ween, which is also in a vlog that I will leave linked, and I hated this book with every fiber of my being. I only gave it 1.5 because I really loved the first 50 pages of this book. The rest of it was just nonsense. It was just babbling nonsense that I didn't understand. It's confusing as shit, and like I really just did not care about. It was so awful to get through. I felt like I was being slowly tortured to my death reading this book. So if you want to hear my full thoughts, full coherent thoughts on everything that I liked and disliked about this book, go check out that vlog. Moving into my 3-star books, I read Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulik. So this is a new, it's supposed to be horror, but I feel like it's more thriller. It's a new book that came out in May. I think it comes out May 10th. I don't know when you're watching this video, depending when I can get it up. So it's either coming out or it just came out. And this book is about a creepy child drawing creepy shit, which like, okay, we love, right? So it's this girl who's babysitting this child and he's like drawing creepy stuff of people getting killed and just like really weird drawings. And basically the reason that I gave this 3 stars, I thought I was going to love this, but turns out like 80% of the book, it's just very typical, oh, this kid's drawing creepy stuff. Is he possessed? Is it a ghost? Is he talking to a demon? Let's spend 80% of the book trying to figure it out. So it was very, very slow paced, kind of boring and typical. Like it was exactly how you expected it to be until the end. Now there are some good twists at the end, but I didn't think it was anything mind-blowing or worth raving about. Overall, I did enjoy it. Like I think it was an easy, enjoyable read, but I don't think it was anything spectacular, hence the 3-star rating. I just felt like the ending was very formulaic. Is that a word? Did I just create a word? I don't know. But the ending had like your typical thriller ending. Like yes, the plot was different, but the formula of a typical thriller, I don't want to give anything away. That was the ending of this book. And I was like, I just want to see something different. Like, I just want to see something being done that hasn't been done before with like a different formula. Like, I'm just tired of thriller books having like the exact same layout and the same third act and the same thing. So I didn't think it was anything like new or spectacular. I do think maybe if you're like new to thrillers, if you really like creepy children, that sort of thing, you would really like this book. It just ended up being okay for me. Next was A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. I gave this 3.5 stars. I also read this in my thriller vlog that I posted with Night Film. This same vibe. I feel like it was very typical thriller formula, but we're following this girl who, when she was 12, I believe, a bunch of girls went missing and were murdered when she was a child, and turns out her father was the one committing the crimes and he was a serial killer. Flashback to present day, she is now discovering all these girls that are connected to her are also going missing. So we're trying to figure out what is happening in this situation and who is the one committing all these crimes. And yeah, it was okay. It was like a little bit above average. It was like your average thriller. If you're new to thrillers, you're a beginner, you're not like, you know, you can't easily guess what's about to happen, I would recommend this. But for someone that's like a seasoned thriller reader, I feel like this might be a little bit slow and predictable, but I still had a fun time reading it. Like, it was still enjoyable. I don't think it was anything mind-blowing, you know? It was just, like I said about the last book, the same typical thriller formula. And I just want to see something new, you know? Next, my other 3.5 is The Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James, the new Simone St. James release this year. I fucking loved The Sundown Motel, so I was really looking forward to reading this book. And in this book, we are following, I don't remember her name, Shay Collins, and she writes a true crime blog, and she comes across this woman who they think she murdered these men like years and years ago, and she runs into her in public and she goes up to her and says, "Hey, can I interview you for my blog?" And they strike up a sort of relationship, and she's going over to her house for interviews, and there's just something not quite right about this woman or her house. So there are some paranormal aspects to this book, and you're trying to figure out, like, did she do it? Did she not do it? What's that whole situation? I really loved this at first, and then it just got really slow and kind of boring. And it just ended up being okay for me. I really, really loved the paranormal aspects. I love like the creepy house, you know, story, what was going on there. It was difficult for me to sustain my attention after like the halfway mark, because I'm like, okay, nothing's really happening, and then you kind of figure out what happened too early on in the book, and then I was just like, okay. And it does that thing where it flashes between present and past. So when you flash back to the past chapters, like learning what happened, and then you flash forward to present day, and you're waiting for the characters to catch up and figure out what you already know. So it's kind of like you're reading the same thing over and over and over. So it was just not sustaining my attention. I just hate when one timeline is more enjoyable than the other. That's the issue that I had with this, but I mean, it was above average. I did like it. It's really hard for thrillers to impress me nowadays, honestly. As you will tell, I am leaning more towards horror and horror and horror as I read and dwindle down my thriller TBR. Next 3.5 star read was The Shuttering by Anya Alborn, our horror queen. Now, this is a creature feature that takes place in this like snowy atmosphere where these group of 20-something-year-olds go to stay in this like cabin, resort, wherever they're staying. Cabin, I think it was a cabin, in like the middle of the woods in the dead of winter, and there are these creatures that come out when it snows. Let me start off by saying I did really like this book. The reason that I gave it 3.5, I was gonna go with a 4 star, but The first 50% of the book is very like drama. It's just like they were 20-something-year-olds, but they read like 16-year-olds. It was like this one likes this one, but they like broke up years ago, but then like they might still love each other, and then like this one likes this one, and like they might hook up. Like it was very much like teen drama. Like you're reading about their drama so much that I was just like, oh my god, give me the creatures, give me the killings, give me the blood, give me the guts. I don't care about their fucking love interest. So I was getting so mad reading this book. I must say the second half really picks up. There's killings, there's blood, there's gore, there's lots of craziness that goes on. I really loved the ending. I ended up really loving where this book went, and it gives you very much that like isolated feeling, closed setting, you know, snowy blizzard atmosphere with the creatures coming after you and that claustrophobic feeling. I definitely really enjoyed this one. If you love creature features, you will love this book, and I love Anya Alborn, so I'm destined to read all of her books. Next, my 4-star reads, I have Waif by Samantha Kolsnick. This I read for my Spring Flingoween reading blog, which is linked with Bunny, and this one is about 100 pages. She is the author of True Crime, which was a 5-star read for me this year, and this book is wild. So we're following this woman, Angela. She's in an abusive marriage with her husband. She hates him. She goes to a grocery store and meets this man that bumps into her on accident, and she becomes obsessed. So we are following her, stalking him, obsessing over this man, and where this book goes is absolutely insane. If you like really weird, out there horror novellas, you will like this one. It is weird, crazy, and it's just really out there. There's botched plastic surgery involved, there's pornography involved, like you name it, this is in there. And it's one of those books where it's like, how did it go from point A to point B? Like, this is nuts. So I really enjoyed this one. Samantha Kolsnick is a wonderful writer, and she's like an auto buy from me from now on, and highly recommend her books. Next, I had an ARC copy of Just Like Mother by Anne Heltzel. I forget her name. But this was an ARC that I had that comes out the end of May or the middle of May. I don't remember exactly when this comes out. Maybe May 17th? Does that sound right? I don't know. Anyways, it's a horror book about a cult. So this woman is in a cult when she is younger. She's like the child of this cult of women that call themselves Mother. So each one is like Mother with the lazy eye, Mother with the long blonde hair, Mother, like they all go by Mother. And she grows up in this cult with her cousin. And something happens when they were little, they get separated from each other, and now years and years later, I think they're in their 30s, she finds her cousin on like a DNA website. They meet up, and I'm not gonna give you anything else. This book, if you like cults, if you like creepy, weird things with like baby dolls, I think you would like this one. It is slow paced. It does take a little bit to like get into the story. Around like the 75% mark, it really takes off and all the craziness starts happening. I really had a fun time with this one. This does have a lot of trigger warnings for like pregnancy and like infant loss, abortion, things like that. So just be mindful going into this book. But I really enjoyed it. I had a fun time. A lot of craziness happens at the end. I really enjoyed the second half of this book and highly recommend if you're into cults like I am. I gave it 4 stars and it comes out sometime this month. I don't know the exact date. I'm a mess. Next, my other 4-star read was My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. Now this is a contemporary fiction about a woman who, not even a woman, she was like a 14-year-old girl who was abused and groomed and sexually assaulted by her teacher when she was in school. And you're flashing back and forth between present day and also when she was a child and these things were happening. Now, this is a very uncomfortable, difficult read. Has a lot to do with, you know, sexual assault and abuse of a minor. And it just really puts you in her head of like her thought process, and, you know, really is so accurate as to how you think as a child. And, you know, when an adult tells you something, and the things that you believe and the things that realistically happen to a lot of children, and just how easily manipulated you are as a child, and the way that you feel and think surrounding the topics of love. And it was very uncomfortable, very difficult. There are like graphic sex and rape scenes that were very difficult to stomach, and just shows you, you know, how she thinks now as an adult and looking back on the situation. And it was just very powerful, and has a lot to say about rape culture and the Me Too movement. Just a really difficult read to get through. I put it down many times because, you know, I read so much like horror and extreme horror, and like nothing bothers me, but something so realistic like this is very difficult to stomach. But if you can, I would highly recommend, and I think it's like an important read. Next, my 4.5 star read was Confessions by Kanae Minato, which is also in that thriller vlog that I made with A Flicker in the Dark and Night Film. So this one is about a woman seeking revenge on this classroom of children based off of a tragic event that happened to her. So each chapter, there are 6 chapters in this book, very long chapters. The writing style was not my favorite, which is why I gave it 4.5 instead of 5, but highly recommend. Mind-blowing, crazy, twisty. I fucking loved it so much. So this one, each chapter you're getting the story from a different perspective, like a different point of view. So you're hearing the same story over and over and over, but each story is a little bit different based off of the point of view, and there's like a twist at the end of each chapter. I really loved it. I love revenge. I love just how fucked up this book was. Some of the stuff that happened in this book, I was like, oh my god. The end of chapter 1, what the fuck? So yeah, I highly recommend this one. Absolutely loved it. If you can get through like the writing style, definitely worth it. And then my 5-star read of the month was Loveless by Alice Osman. Now, I actually just ordered the physical copy of this book. I listened to it on audiobook. I just absolutely loved it, so I had to order the physical copy. Now, this is a book, it's more contemporary, I would say, maybe a little bit romance, but I would classify it mostly as contemporary because, you know, I don't read romance, I don't enjoy romance, and I fucking love this book. So this is about a girl who is asexual. She's an aromantic asexual, and she is discovering her sexuality because she doesn't realize that she's asexual, and she is wondering, you know, what is wrong with me, that I'm not in a relationship. And we're kind of following her journey throughout college, and as she discovers more about herself. So she's constantly left wondering, like, what is wrong with me? I'm not in this relationship. I just can't get myself to have feelings for someone. Like, maybe someone will come along. We're just following her struggles with fitting in and feeling like she belongs. And this book was so insanely relatable to me. I am not asexual. I'm heterosexual. I'm in a heterosexual relationship with a man. But this was so relatable to me. I am not a romantic person. I don't understand a lot of aspects about other people's relationships because I just don't fit in with like societal norms, I guess, as far as my views go about a lot of things and as far as like my feelings about a lot of things. So I felt like a lot of the commentary that took place in this book I could heavily relate to, especially with, you know, topics such as like, you know, everything in society is always about like sex. Like everything is constantly about sex in the media, and just like your friends are constantly out like having sex with everyone, and everything is just so based on sex, and you know, being someone that, yeah, I've been very open about my medical issues with endometriosis, with vulvodynia, with all these different conditions that I have, and painful intercourse comes along with those things. So I'm always someone that like openly talks about, you know, painful sex and, you know, all these taboo issues that people find weird that I talk about, and I don't think that it's weird at all. I think that they're very important topics to discuss because everything is so based around sex and romance and this and that, and it's kind of like, well, what about me? Like, where do I fit into this picture? Even though I'm not asexual, I found this such a relatable book. And also, even if you don't have any of the other issues that I just mentioned, like, I have very, very severe social anxiety, which it doesn't come across that way online, but I am like so shy and terrified in real life. And you know, fitting in with people is always something that I've struggled with. Like, I've never felt like I was able to make friends easily or fit in easily or talk to people easily. And I always felt like an outcast. So this book also handles topics like that. Just feeling alone, lonely, and not feeling like you fit in. So I feel like a lot of different types of people will relate to this book, even though, you know, even if you're not asexual. But if you have any suspicion that you are, or you know that you're asexual or aromantic or both, I feel like you will really, really love this book, and I highly recommend everyone goes and reads this book because it was so good. I ordered the physical copy. I didn't think I would like it, and it's always the books that I don't think that I will like that end up surprising me. So yeah, those are my final thoughts on all the books that I read this month, and definitely let me know what you read this month, what your favorites were, and if you read any of these books and you liked them, if you didn't like them, and I will talk to you in my next video. Bye!